Mr. President? Okay.
Is Germany doing enough on defense, Mr. President? Is Germany doing enough on defense?
What?
Defense spending.
Is Germany doing enough on defense?
The Chancellor wants to.
Is Germany doing enough on
Chancellor wants to
defense?
spend 3.5.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I haven't discussed it very much. I know that you're spending more money on defense now, and quite a bit more money, and that's a positive
Definitely.
thing. I'm not sure that General MacArthur would have said it's positive, you know. He wouldn't like it, but I sort of think it's good. You understand what I mean by that?
Absolutely, I understand.
He made a statement, never let Germany rearm. And I said, I always think about that when he says, sir, we're spending more money on defense. I say, oh, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I think it's a good thing. But, you know, at least to a certain point. There'll be a point when I'll say, please don't arm anymore, if you don't mind. We'll be watching him. I'll get it.
Mr. President. On Biden, Mr. President.
Yeah, Biden, you said Biden.
Your predecessor dismissed your auto pen investigation. He said he made all the decisions during his presidency. I'm curious your reaction to his dismissal.
Well, look, the auto pen, I think, is the big scandal outside of the rigged election of 2020. I think the biggest scandal of the last many years is the auto pen. And who's using it? I happen to think I know, because I'm here, and I'm not a big auto pen person, fortunately. I'm glad. I'm very glad. It's an easy way out, but it's a very bad thing, very dangerous. You know, I sign important documents. Usually when they put documents in front of you, they're important. Even if you're signing ambassadorships, and I consider that important. I think it's inappropriate. You have somebody that's devoting 4 years of their life or more to being an ambassador. I think you really that person deserves to get a real signature, not an auto pen signature. And I can tell auto pen easily. I can look at it. Like two little pinholes from pulling the paper, right? You always see the pinholes.
Yeah.
It's real easy to tell about auto pen. I think it's very disrespectful to people when they get an auto pen signature. Outside, auto pen to me are used when thousands of letters come in from young people all over the country and you want to get them back. And, you know, people use auto pens for that, to send a little signature at the bottom of a letter. We have thousands of them. We get thousands of letters a week. And it's not possible to, you know, I'd like to do it myself, but you can't do it. To me, that's where auto pens start and stop. But I'm sure that he didn't know many of the things. Look, he was never for open borders. He was never for transgender for everybody. He was never for men playing in women's sports. I mean, he changed, all of these things that changed so radically. I don't think he had any idea that frankly, I said it during the debate and I say it now, he didn't have much of an idea what was going on.
Mr. President,
you shouldn't be, essentially whoever used the auto pen was the president. And that is wrong, it's illegal, it's so bad, and it's so disrespectful to our country.
Mr. President.
Mr. President, will you lead your troops in Germany? And if I may ask a question to the Chancellor to answer in German for the German audience, how has your first encounter been?
The answer is yes. We'll talk about that. But if they'd like to have them there, yeah, we have a lot of them, about 45,000. It's a lot of troops. It's a city when you think of it. That's good economic development. They're high troops and they spend a lot of money in Germany. But the relationship with Germany is very important. Yeah, we'll be doing that. No problem.
May I say a few words in German to
Yes,
the German
please.
public? So, danke für die Frage. Wir sind hier im Weißen Haus und ich bedanke mich beim Präsidenten für den sehr freundlichen Empfang im Oval Office in diesem weltweit bekannten Raum. Ich freue mich sehr, hier zu sein und wir bereiten eine Vertiefung unserer Zusammenarbeit vor. Ich freue mich sehr darüber.
Mr. President, you've made
Mr. President.
Do you speak English because you speak such good English? Is it as good as your German, would you say? Do you feel
it's
more
not my
comfortable?
mother tongue. No, it's not my mother tongue, but I try to understand almost everything and
very good.
to speak as good as I can.
Very good. You know,
Mr. President, you've made
it's an achievement, actually.
Mr. President,
Mr. President, can
the
I follow up on the
criticism that
auto
I've
pen?
seen
Yeah,
regarding, thank you, Mr. President. The criticism that I've seen, and I'm sure you've seen regarding Elon Musk and your big, beautiful bill, what's your reaction to that? Do you think it in any way hurts passage in the Senate, which of course, what is you're seeking?
Well, look, you know, I've always liked Elon, and it's always very surprised. You saw the words he had for me, the words of, and he hasn't said anything about me that's bad. Rather have him criticize me than the bill, because the bill is incredible. It's the biggest cut in the history of our country. We've never cut. It's about 1.6 trillion in cuts. It's the biggest tax cut. You would say, people's taxes will go way down, but it's the biggest tax cut in history. It's we are doing things in that bill that are unbelievable. And when you look at what we're doing for small businesses, for people, for middle-income people, all of the things that we're doing, nobody's ever seen anything like it. And, you know, Elon's upset because we took the EV mandate, and, you know, which was a lot of money for electric vehicles, and, you know, having a hard time, the electric vehicles. And they want us to pay billions of dollars in subsidy. And, you know, Elon knew this from the beginning. He knew it for a long time ago. That's been in there. That's been, I would say, JD, that hasn't changed. That's been right from the beginning, I think, Mr. Secretary, that hasn't changed at all, right from the beginning. But I know that it disturbed him. He wanted, and rightfully, you know, he recommended somebody from that he, I guess, knew very well. I'm sure he respected him, but to run NASA, and I didn't think it was appropriate. And he happened to be a Democrat, like Democrat, and I say, you know, look, we won. We get certain privileges. One of the privileges, we don't have to appoint a Democrat. NASA is very important. Great people. General Kane is going to be picking somebody with our. We'll be checking him out, seeing. But he wanted that person, a certain person, and we said no. And you know, I can understand why he's upset. Remember, he was here for a long time. You saw a man who was very happy when he stood behind the Oval desk, and even with the black eye, I said, "Do you want a little makeup? We'll get you a little makeup." But he said, "No, I don't think so," which is interesting and very nice. He wants to be who he is, so you could make that statement too, I guess. Look, Elon and I had a great relationship. I don't know if we're well anymore. I was surprised because you were here. Everybody in this room practically was here as we had a wonderful send-off. He said wonderful things about me. You couldn't have nicer. Said the best things. He's worn the hat. Trump was right about everything. And I am right about the great, big, beautiful bill. We call it a great, big, beautiful bill because that's what it is. And again, biggest tax cuts in history, biggest economic development moves anywhere. We've never done anything like it. Business is spurred. And I don't know if you've seen the numbers, but the numbers came out. Even the CBO, which is run by Democrats, said that we're going to be doing, you know, I'd like you to discuss it, the 2.8 trillion that CBO, this is a group of people that are Democrats. They're very hostile to us. They just came out with phenomenal numbers, what it does. You want to mention that, Scott?
Yes, sir. So what we've seen is we keep hearing from the CBO that there's going to be a large deficit from the bill, which we disagree with, but using the CBO scoring, they came out and scored the tariff revenue. We think it'll be the minimum of $2.8 trillion over the 10-year window, which actually puts the bill in surplus if you include the tariff revenue, which they won't do.
It gives you a tremendous surplus, but we're not allowed to use that. For some reason, they say scoring. Nobody knows what scoring means. Maybe a couple of people, but nobody. Somebody sits in the background. They say, well, we're not going to allow that. They're not allowing other things that we have that are tremendously profitable for our country. But if you saw the other day, CNBC, they came out with numbers, and the people on the show, very good people, I've watched them for a long time, they couldn't believe the numbers, how good they are. The numbers were incredible, and that was personal income and also very low inflation. We have very low inflation. We're down to 2% now, and maybe even lower than that. And when I took it over, it was a mess. Remember, we had the worst inflation probably in the history of our country. They say 48 years, but let's say I think it's worse than that. So we had the worst inflation in the history of our country under the Biden administration. Now we're down to a beautiful number, 2%. You'd actually like to keep it there. Better than zero is 2%. It's going down maybe to 1, and 1% is like perfect. That's perfect. You don't want to have zero for certain reasons that nobody is very interested to listen to. But we have almost perfect inflation. Grocery prices are down. Everything. Remember eggs? We weren't going to buy another egg.